Good morning. All right, come off camera for a sec. All right. Good morning. We got 3 minutes to go. I'm keeping my fingers crossed because my internet's a little unstable this morning. So wish me luck. We will give a few minutes for everybody to get on board this morning. And awesome. So I will be back in 2 minutes.
Hey Mitch, how are you? Away from this computer right now. Hi Mitch. We're trying to figure out who can hear us and who can't right now, but we're just waiting on the program to get started. So I'm here, Amanda's in person. So I'll answer any questions that you have, all right?
All right, I'm back. Sorry, working off my hotspot because my internet is unstable this morning, so not sure what's going on. I've been on my computer all morning. I go to get on Zoom and these things happen. All right, so you will learn part of being in this business is learning just to pivot and adapt and move on when things happen. So good morning, everyone. So my name is Chris Triglioni. I'm coming to you from Maine this morning. I'm with KW Greater Portland, and I am the assistant broker as well as I code the role of the Market Center Tech Trainer with Tiffany Hampton. You may have seen Tiffany on some of these classes before, but welcome. So this morning's class, we're going to be going over seller appointments. And there is supposed to be someone on here helping me facilitate this. So just not sure who that person is. If you want to just throw something in the chat. Otherwise, I will wing it and make it happen myself.
Hi, Chris. That's me, Roger.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, Roger. Are you my cohort this morning?
I'm your sidekick to give you some color if need be and jump in where need be. And then Lauren's going to monitor the chat a little bit for us. And she already posted in the resource. So if you need the resource, meaning the student resource stuff and the toolkit, the script books, they're all right there in the chat. So just scroll up to the chat.
Awesome. Yeah, so I'm your fill-in this morning. Found out last minute I was doing this, but I'm ready. Done this class a bunch of times. So before we jump right into listing appointments, would love to chat with everyone about how many people here have actually been on a listing appointment. And just throw your hand up and wave if you've been on a listing appointment. And also for those of you who are shy this morning, I am going to ask you to turn on your cameras if possible, because it just makes the class a lot more interesting if we can see your faces. So cameras and microphones are preferred. And so would love to see everyone's bright and shining faces this morning. And that would be awesome. So thank you, Lauren. We've got some links to the toolkit as well as the links for this session in the chat. So if you have any questions there. So is there anyone here who's been on a listing appointment yet at all? Is anyone, oh, there we go, Andy. Is anyone scared to go on a listing appointment? Like, oh my goodness, what if they call and say they want to list? And this is a safe place. It's okay to admit that.
If you're not a little nervous, you'd be a little weird, I would think.
I still get nervous. I've been doing this 20 years. And I will admit, I still get a little nervous when I go in to do a listing appointment.
Yep.
So that's one of the reasons we're here today, is really to just help you be confident with your presentations, with what you're going to say. And so, kudos to you guys for being here today, because that's what this is all about. And so I am looking to share this PowerPoint. And so let me see if I can get in there. I'm looking at the, so if you guys can help me out here, I'm looking at the presenter sheet here, and I want to just do a regular presentation. So looking to do this. All right, let's see what I can find here. Trying to share my screen with the right presentation, but not seeing it. All right, I've got my PowerPoint up on the screen. So any tips here, Roger? What should I be doing to share this? So I'm not seeing the presenter stuff here.
So down on the bottom, you hit the green screen share.
Oh, no, I know how to do that.
Oh, sorry.
I'm looking to the PowerPoint, like what's the version that I want to be sharing. So, I found it.
Yep.
All right.
Yep, this
I'm here. Thank you all. All right, let's jump in and talk
There you
seller
go.
appointments. Are
See
you
the
guys
screen.
seeing my screen now? I
Yes,
think
we
I'm
can.
good. I think I'm good. Now I just have to, all right. I think I'm in business. Today, we're going to talk about making seller presentations and getting listings, right? So some of the things that you've been reviewing in Ignite is one, growing your business, and then there's running your business, right? So what do we mean by running your business? I like audience participation, so I am going to ask a lot of questions today. What do we mean by running your business?
The things you do to keep the lights on and keep the everybody happy that you're working with.
Right? So that's your current business you have going on. Thanks, Mike. Yeah. So that's, showing houses, negotiating contracts, all that fun stuff. What else do we need to do? What is growing your business as opposed to running your business? What are we talking about when we're talking about growing your business?
Lead generation.
Right? It's keeping that pipeline filled, right? Because as we're running our business and doing the activities we need to do for current transactions or current clients, we also need to always be filling that pipeline with new clients, right? And so this needs to be done in conjunction with each other. So we're talking about growing your business today and filling that pipeline with new sellers. And so, excellent. So, one of the ways you can set yourself apart in this business is to really ask great questions, do your homework before you even meet with the seller. Okay, so this is what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about what are the sellers looking for in today's market? What do we need to be doing before we even go meet with the sellers, right? Sitting down and talking about the listing presentation. What does that look like? The appointment, we're going to talk about rehab, we're going to do a recap, what we talk about. And then we're going to talk about those daily habits you should be doing to make yourself stronger in your business and to keep your business going. So this slide talks about how sellers found their agent, right? And so this was put together by NAR, does a great report every year, which is the profile of home buyers and sellers. This is based on 2019. The latest report actually just came out from NAR. So I do recommend you guys check that out. It always gives great insight into, what how are consumers finding agents, doing business, etc. And so this shows us, right? 39% of sellers were referred by a friend, neighbor, or relative. So, right, they're getting their business from they're finding their sellers through their sphere, right? So this is why it's important to always be talking to people because a lot of times they're telling their friends about you, okay? 27% have used the agent previously. So keep in touch with those past clients because they do repeat business, right? Personal contact, so it's somebody that that you've had a conversation with. 4% come from internet sites. So like they found their agent on Zillow, Realtor.com, on a company website, right? 3% visited an open house and met the agent at the open house. And then 22% found their listing agent through other means. Would love to hear from you guys. What do you think that other 22% includes?
Door knocking.
Door knocking. Yep, love that. How else do you think you could meet sellers?
Your sphere.
Your sphere, yep. So communicating regularly with your database or the people that you know. Mm-hmm.
Buyers and
open houses.
Open houses, did I hear open houses? Yep, so we know 3% meet their agents at open houses.
A neighborhood reach out after a listing is closed, after it's sold.
Yep, love that. So what I'm hearing is this is your marketing, right? This is probably your marketing that you're doing to a neighborhood, to a farm. Through what other means do we use for marketing? to people? Just throw ideas out there. What are we doing for marketing these days?
Social media?
Social media, right? Social media is a great way to reach out and connect with people.
Newspaper ads.
Newspaper ads. Right? So this is all that other stuff that we do to try to connect with sellers. So networking, marketing, you know, social media, which I would say is part of your marketing, door knocking, right? So when you think, oh, I'm always putting myself out there to the public, to potential sellers, right? That's because 22% of people, that's how they're finding their agents. How many of you are actually doing any marketing or farming or reaching out to the community looking for seller leads? So if you are not doing this, right, 22% of sellers, that's how they found their agent, you know, and there are a lot of means out there to market to people that don't cost a lot of money, right? Social media, you can do a lot for a little bit of money. So just think about that, casting that net out there to gain some of these sellers. All right. What do sellers want? What are sellers looking for from their agent? This is what it's great about this report, because it gives great insight into what are sellers really looking for, right? So the most common thing is they want you to help help market their home, right? They want you to help sell their home in a specific time frame. They want you to help price their home competitively. How do we help them price their home competitively? What's the tool that we use to help them price their home?
Market analysis.
A market analysis, that is correct. So a CMA or a market analysis, it's the tool that we're going to use to help them price their home, right? 16% want help to fix up their home and sell for more. So 16% are looking for some advice. What could they do to increase the value of their home? 13% want you to help find a buyer, and 11% are others. So the importance of sitting down and having a conversation with them, realize this is the priority for most sellers, right? So are they going to want to know what you're going to do for marketing when you sit down and talk with them? Right? 21%. That's their primary thing that they want from an agent, is marketing their home. Selling their home in a specific time range, right? So I think that ties into pricing it correctly, right? Do you guys know what the average days on market is in your area?
It's like 6 or 8.
Thank you, Mike. Yeah, it's about 7 days in our market right now where we are. So that's important to know, you know, what are those statistics? What's happening in the market currently? So you can set that realistic expectation for the seller, right? So I love this, you know, talking to them about a time frame, educate them a little bit on what's happening in the market currently, okay? So we have access to those figures, those statistics. I know here in Maine, we share those in our all partners meeting. If your market center is not sharing those stats and you don't know how to find those stats, you know, please reach out to your MCTT or your coach, whoever you're working with, for some help with how do I find these statistics so I can educate my sellers. Any questions on that? Okay, so, you know, realize that when you sit down and have a conversation with the seller, or when you're on the phone pre-qualifying them, the more questions you can ask, the more information you can attain, the more they're going to trust you and like you and want to list their home with you. Okay, so make it about them. Try to find out what is important to them so you can address those questions. All right. Any questions on this? Are you surprised by any of this? Anybody surprised that this is that 16% of people want help fixing up their home or want some advice? Right. So keep in mind, that's what sellers are looking for.
May I go back a little bit to that previous screen about how to find a seller. That was 3% in the pink area. 3% of agents find right there. 3% they find the I mean the customers, the clients come to open house to meet agent. It's only 3%. I'm kind of surprised with that.
Well, this is seller. Yeah.
We've been told for the last 3 weeks that's the best way to get the client. That's the best way. You go to open house. Now I can see that there's only 3%. I understand that it's a seller. I mean, wait a second. Yeah, they're visiting open house to meet an agent. So it's a little too low for me.
So
Kind of
I
surprised.
think this is the difference between buyers and sellers, right?
Right.
So these are people who want to sell, who are going to open houses to meet potential agents to list their house.
Right.
Okay, right? So we always talk about who goes to open houses, right? It's potential buyers, it's neighbors who just
mostly
want to see the
buyers.
house. And then it's also people who might be thinking of selling. Maybe they go to open houses to see what the competition looks like, or maybe they're just seeing how you operate as an agent.
Yeah, that's true.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep. So I think that is the difference between how do buyers find their agent versus how do sellers find their agents. And I think that
Yeah,
accounts for that smaller percentage. Anybody else have any insight on that?
So Chris, yeah, I would agree. A lot of times people are thinking about selling their house. So they're going out and doing comparative shopping to see what the house down the street's selling for. So a lot of times there are sellers going in. But yes, he's correct in saying that, it's mostly buyers, yes, but it's also an opportunity for sellers to meet agents if they're not already connected with an agent.
Yeah. So think about if you're hosting an open house, what does that script sound like when you're meeting someone? Is it, hey, what brings you to the open house today? Are you a buyer, a seller, or you're just curious about this house, right? So vet them when they walk in the door at an open house. Is this a potential listing down the street? I think that's a great conversation to have with somebody when they come to an open house. So keep that in mind. Sellers come to open houses, right? Yeah, excellent. Good question. Good question. All right, now we're talking about the process to the listing, right? The pre-listing questionnaire. Why is a pre-listing questionnaire important to the whole listing process? Anybody have any ideas on that? Why do we do a pre-listing
To see how
questionnaire?
motivated they are.
Right? Find out their
To know
motivation.
To know their needs.
To know their needs.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
What else are we asking about? What other kinds of things are we asking about in a pre-listing questionnaire?
Where they're moving to?
Where they're moving to. Yep.
What their
Time frame.
Time frame. Love it. Yep. Why do we ask all these questions?
The more information you have, the better that you are as an agent to present your end of things.
Exactly, right? So the more we know about their situation, their motivation, where they're going, when they have to sell, the more equipped we're going to be when we sit down and present it to them, right? It might affect the price, it might affect the marketing, right? So it's finding out what their needs are, right? We had a great class in our market center last week, and it was 3 of our top agents in the company sat down and talked about pricing strategies and CMAs. And I will tell you, one of my biggest takeaways from that class is they do their homework, right? They prepare for the appointment, they practice, okay? So one of the things is every one of them has a great pre-listing questionnaire to know the situation they're walking into. Do we sometimes get calls from people who think they want to list, but they want to list in the spring, right? We're already kind of almost into winter. Like people start this process of talking to agents, quite a bit ahead of time sometimes. So be prepared, have your scripts ready, know what to say based on the answers that you're getting in your pre-listing questionnaire. So does everybody here have a pre-listing questionnaire? Or have you looked at the pre-listing questionnaire that's available?
We provided one in one of the previous classes.
Awesome. Excellent. That's right. So one of the previous Ignite classes, or I can't remember which number, provides you with that questionnaire. So practice it. I am a big fan of practicing with somebody who wants to help you in your business before you're actually sitting in front of a client. So if you've got maybe somebody who lives in your house with you who will let you practice on them, a fellow agent, the more comfortable you'll feel in using these tools, the more comfortable your client is going to feel with you. Okay, does that make sense? So have some great questions. One, it allows you to be prepared for the situation you're walking into. And two, it makes it about them. And right off the bat, they're saying, wow, she cares about what I have to say. And, because we want to make it about them, and we want to make them feel that it's about them and their needs and what they need to meet their goals, right? And so asking great questions at the get-go is really the key to building that great relationship. And then we're going to schedule a listing appointment, right? Generally, where do we do that listing appointment most of the time? Where is that taking place?
At the client's home.
At the client's home, right? Yeah, most of the time, that's where we're sitting down and talking to them about this, right? I am a big fan of sending a pre-listing packet. There is a pre-listing packet that is available in the elementals section, which I think was added in the chat here. So what's the purpose of the pre-listing packet? To show them who we are. Show them who we are, so it said. Yep, I think it's to provide them with information about ourselves, right? So they're comfortable with who they're working with. It's also the very first thing that they're going to see, like, what does your marketing look like? How do you present yourself? How do you present properties, right? By having a nice professional pre-listing packet, you're going to set yourself above other agents. I'm just going to say, I've been doing this a long time. I know most agents walk into a listing appointment having asked very few questions, have not done their homework on the property, and walk in with a clipboard, and they don't have anything nice to leave with the client. I see it happen all the time. And so set yourself apart as the professional, and this is a great way to do that. The other point of a pre-listing question is you can set the seller's expectations and have a conversation about what that looks like, right? What are the other kinds of things that are going to be in our pre-listing packet? What kind of information?
Maybe some educational stuff, like why you choose a realtor.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. What else do we want in the pre-listing packet? We're going to talk about that a little more as we dive deeper into this, right? So the pre-listing packet is a great way to, set that stage, set your value. You're doing your pre-selling, you're saving time by hopefully answering a lot of their questions up front before you even go meet with them. So I am a fan of emailing or dropping off, if you've got a courier who can do such a thing, the pre-list packet before you even go meet with them. Because it's going to set that stage and potentially answer a lot of their questions before you even get there. Okay. Then we're going to meet with them and present the listing presentation. We're going to create the listing presentation, right? And then we're going to do a walkthrough and present the listing presentation. And yeah, and that's usually done right in their home with the client. All right. So before the appointment, right? This is when we're doing our homework. This is when we're asking those great questions. this is the point of the pre-listing packet, right? Is to, you want to talk about, hey, I'm going to send you this packet of great information. Please take a look at it, review it. And, you know, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have when we sit down at your home for the listing appointment. Okay. Pre-selling, right? It builds confidence and answers some of those questions. You know, I'm a fan of having your marketing plan right in that pre-listing presentation. So they already know when you're walking in the door that you have a marketing plan, because we know that's the most important thing, like that for sellers, right? So answer that question right off the bat. Hey, this is what I do to market your home. I'm a fan of giving them that information up front. And the big thing is it is going to save you time when you sit down at that listing appointment, because hopefully you've answered a bunch of their questions before you even get there. And I'm just a huge fan of this one because I think it sets you apart from other agents. We know often we're going on listing appointments and they may be interviewing other agents. How nice to give yourself this advantage before you even actually get to sit and meet with them in person. I mean, I think it's huge, right? So the pre-listing packet, right? Let's talk about how does it help you have a smooth appointment? And I think we just talked about that. How does it answer their questions, right? What are they going to want to know? And some of this stuff you could ascertain when you do that questionnaire, right? What's important to this person? I'm a fan of having these presentations created ahead of time, but you can always edit them for each seller as needed and add to your presentation the things that you know are important to this client, right? Has anybody done a pre-listing packet or edited a pre-listing packet and have one ready to go should somebody call you today and say, I want to list my home? How many of you have one of these like ready to go? Raj is ready. I'm not seeing everybody on the screen here, so please, you know, feel free to chime in.
Chris, just to also add and interject here too, you know, in Spark 6, you did your value proposition. That would be a good idea to have that loaded up in your pre-listing package.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that idea, right? Why work with me, right? What do I bring to the transaction?
And
you know, what's my value?
Yeah, we can't emphasize enough how many agents you're going to compete with who aren't going to do these couple of little steps. And what effort does it take? It's already prepared and you're sending it out. And as you said before, you're separating yourself from 80% of the other agents out there that you're going to compete against just by doing this one simple act.
Absolutely. I have been with a couple companies in my career. I hope you guys appreciate all these awesome materials and scripts and all these things that you have at your fingertips. I mean, it can truly set you aside as the professional, even though you are new to this industry, right? You do not have to have 20 years experience to show up and act like a professional and present yourself like a professional. And that is what's going to get you the appointment. And that's what's going to get you the listing. Is people list with somebody that they are confident can get the job done. This is how you show them how I'm going to get the job done. Okay. All right. So yeah, so have one of these ready to go. Take some time. It takes little time to take one of these templates and customize it, right? So have one ready to go. Should you need one, it's going to save you a ton of stress down the road. So, right. So love the pre-list packet because it's going to answer a lot of questions. So yeah. So let's talk about, I'm going to go back a little bit actually, because I want to talk about, whoops, I'm going the other way. So likewise with the listing presentation, right? So also before the appointment, right? Some of the other things we're going to ascertain in that questionnaire is, you know, we talk about their motivation. I'm a fan of kind of qualifying sellers. You know, one of the ways we recommend in qualifying them is, are they an A seller, a B seller, or C seller? What do we mean by that when we say qualify the seller and analyze like what type of a seller are they? What are we talking about? An A, B, or C seller? What do you think we're referring to there?
Time frame.
Time frame, right? So An A seller is somebody who's ready, willing, and able and wants to do business, soon, right? I think by definition, if you look at our packet, we say within the first 60 days, right? It's 15 to 60. So somebody who needs to move, wants to get their home on the market. Likewise, what would a B seller be?
They're missing one of those things.
Right. So maybe they're like, we want a list, but we need help, advice on what do we need to do to get our home ready for the market, right? So they're not quite ready to get their home on the market right now. They definitely need our help, right? Because they probably have questions that are not answered, or they just need some guidance on how does it all work, right? One of the things I always tell new agents is when you're having that conversation with a new seller or a new buyer, I always recommend asking, when was the last time you bought or sold a home? Okay. And so if it's been a long time since they bought or sold a home, they're going to need a lot more hand holding and counseling on how does the whole process work, right? Because a lot of consumers don't understand the process. And so, part of that before the appointment is how much am I going to have to explain to them, right out of the gate, how this is all going to work. If you have somebody who's very experienced, has sold and bought a lot of homes in the past few years, they probably don't need quite that explanation and how does it all work, right? So if somebody is a B or C seller, because they're not quite ready to do something now, a lot of times they just have questions that haven't been answered and they need more information to get ready for the market, okay? Roger, you have anything else to throw into that about
Yeah, Chris.
talking to people about there?
So it can't be lost here. I mean, if you think about what Chris is saying, it's starting in that first conversation, the initial conversations over the phone. You're already starting your presentation by discovering and uncovering what their interest is in the process, what they need to know. So one good question I always ask is, what are you expecting out of your real estate agent? And then wait for their answer. And then when they answer those questions, probe a little deeper, go one more step by going, that's interesting to me. Tell me more about that. Because they're going to self-discover through your questions what's important to them. And you want to emphasize back to them, I go, because it's not really so important. I know the process. It's more important that I understand what you need to know and what's going to help you process through here.
I love that.
Yeah.
And how we find that out is just by digging deeper and asking great questions. And asking great questions, Brad, my team leader, loves to call them open questions. Who, what, when, where, right? So really just dig deep. And when they give you information, I love that, Roger, that you said, go a little deeper.
Right.
Like, you hear what they're saying. What does that mean? Like, what does that mean to you? Right. So
why is that important to you? Tell me more about that. And those are just little phrase scripts that just incorporating those into your conversations, you learn so much more about what it's all about to them, because the agent who spends the most time talking to them about them in their situation is usually going to be the one who wins them over in the end.
It is, because then the sellers feel like, oh, they care about what I think, what I say. They're making it about me, right, not about them. Because the agent that shows up and talks about themselves the whole time, tells all about their awards, I've sold this many homes, that one. The sellers want it to be about them. They want to know that you care and you're going to meet their needs. That's what's going to really get you these listings. So, all right. So the listing presentation, right? So this is separate from the pre-list packet, right? This is your next opportunity to shine and show them how awesome your marketing is going to be, or to show them that you are professional, right? Love a show of hands. How many of you have been in designs and have created a listing presentation? Excellent. So I'm seeing Mike's got his hand up.
I started doing my buyer presentation.
Awesome. So this is the other thing that I would say, go in choose one of these listing presentation templates and go ahead and set it up and customize it to you. Again, if somebody calls today and says that they want to list, if you've got these presentations pre-created or pre-designed, ready to go, and then all you have to go in and tweak them and add a name or a picture. It's just, I can't even tell you how it's going to help you with your stress level, and it's going to help you in getting these listings. Like, and this is not, you know, it can change over time. I will say I kind of redo my listing presentation every few months just to tweak it. But yeah, but at least have something ready to go. Right. All right. All right. So we're going to talk about the listing presentation, right? Let's talk about your needs come first. Why do you think this page is important?
And we've already discussed this as well.
It makes it about them.
Yeah.
Right? Makes it about them and what they want to do. And so I love some of these questions here. You know, what's the one thing that has to happen to make your dream a reality? Like, how can I make this happen for you? I think Roger was just talking about that. Find out what's important to them, okay? One of the things we're doing here is we are building confidence, right? We want to build their confidence in us and you know, make them the real estate agent of choice, okay? So make it about them. So these are some great examples of questions to ask them, right? So presenting the listing presentation. You know, I talked about that panel class we had the other day. Every single one of those agents who sell tens of millions of dollars of property a year, one of them is over $100 million worth of property this year. They all said they still practice their listing presentation. Okay, so practice it. The more comfortable you are talking about it, the more it just rolls off your tongue like it's a conversation, the more comfortable and more confident they're going to be in you. So again, I love having somebody in your house or somebody who cares about you or a fellow agent. Reach out to a fellow agent, reach out to your coach. Hey, can I practice my listing presentation on you? You know, practice saying it in the mirror, record yourself. You know, I want you to be comfortable when you're sitting down and doing this. Okay. I can't emphasize enough. So handling objections, right? How do we learn to handle objections from sellers or buyers? Where do we learn the skills to handle objections?
Script practice.
It has to be in the scripts.
Script practice with somebody else, yeah.
That is the answer, right? Practice your scripts. So if you are not going to script and role play at your market center, I encourage you to do so, or find another agent who's willing to be a script partner with you and you can practice scripts, because there's always going to be seller objections, and knowing what to say to those objections is one, going to set you apart as a professional, going to make you a lot more comfortable in your presentations when you know what to say. I'm just going to share a little personal story here. I was in real estate for about 6 years before I came to Keller Williams Realty. And I came in as part of a team, right? And I remember my team lead said, okay, we're going to start doing scripts and role play. And I may have done the eye roll thing. I may have had that attitude that I've been selling real estate for 6 years. I know what to say to people, but I'm a team player. So I did it. I jumped in and said, okay, I'll do scripts and role play. Holy cow, I really didn't know what to say. I really didn't. I learned so much in scripting, even though I've been in the business for many years. And I will tell you the confidence it will give you when you are sitting and talking to clients. I can't even tell you, because I remember the first time that we had been scripting and I was sitting at a table trying to get a listing appointment, and they started hitting me with some objections. And all of a sudden I was like, wow, I know just what to say because I've been practicing this. So even no matter how long you've been in real estate, I recommend keep practicing your scripts. Keep finding ways to answer these questions because they always come up, they always happen, and you can't practice enough. you know? So if you are shy, if you're hesitant to do scripts and role play, think about volunteering and running scripts and role play in your market center, or offering to, you know, in our market center, we have different people host the scripts and role play. The best way to learn it is to teach it. So jump in and practice your scripts. I can't emphasize that enough. As someone who kind of came in going scripts, it makes a big difference. So that's the best way to learn handling those, right? So I want to talk about, before you actually sit down with them in the listing appointment, we talked about asking great questions. What's the other thing I think is really important in gathering information about? Yeah, what's important to the seller, but what else is really helpful to need to know when you're walking into the appointment?
The market.
The market, right? So know what's going on in their neighborhood, in their area, in their town, depending on, you know, your market, right? So knowing what's going on in the market, I love that. What else is important to know?
I think that take a quick screen of the house might help you, you know, in a future to price that house, and you have to see what they have to sell. What is that? Is it kind of, you know, very bad condition house that needs a lot of improvements, or it's a very great updated house that might sell in 2 days? You wanna that quick screen of that house.
Exactly. I like to know what I'm walking into before I go to a property. So there are resources available to us to pull public records information on properties, to gather some information on the property before you go in, right? So I am a big fan of that, having some information on the property before I even meet with them. So I know what I'm walking into. I am also a big fan of knowing who I'm dealing with. How do we find out information on who we're going to be meeting with? What are some of those resources we can use?
Social media.
Social media, look them up on social media, right? Look them up on LinkedIn. See what, would you like to know before you walk into a presentation, are you dealing with, and this is not judging at all, somebody who is a kindergarten teacher or somebody who is a corporate attorney? Would that be nice to know before you walk into the appointment? Yes and yes, right? So I like to do a little homework myself on the property, so I know what I'm showing up at. What does it look like when you show up at the property and you already have all the public records information on their property? You're already prepared to talk to them about that, okay? I'm a fan of doing a little homework on the property. And I also, and you could call it creeping, I don't know what you call it, but I also like to do a little homework on who am I going to meet, okay? So any thoughts on that? How do you guys feel about that?
If they are not active on social media, then how do we
So-
get to know?
If they're not on social media, you could Google a person. You can just Google their name, see if you can find them. I mean, it's not a guarantee you're going to find things out about them, but I like to just take a little time and do my homework. Because is that maybe going to change how you approach the appointment, depending on who you're dealing with? Right? Yeah.
Yes, I was just going to say that it kind of sets you up a little bit. You feel a little bit more prepared in your mind for how you're going to present yourself to them and who you need to be to them.
Right. Like, I'm not judging age-wise anyway, and in any means, but if you're walking into an appointment with an 83-year-old versus a 33-year-old, what is most likely, like, technology, you're talking at a different level, right? So again, I like to be prepared for that, like, who am I dealing with? And some of those questions can be ascertained in those pre-listing questionnaires, but I also like to do a little homework before then. So preparing yourself and taking the time to know what you're dealing with before you get there, I think can be a game changer. One, it shows them you've taken some time to learn about their property, and it's just going to better equip you for knowing what you're walking into. So once you have done your listing presentation, right, you're going to meet with the homeowner and do a walkthrough. Okay. There are different strategies on how to do this. So Roger, what do you think? Do you like to walk through the home with the client, or do you like to walk through the old Diana Kokoska method of, I'm going to walk through like I'm a buyer?
I mean, I read the client, kind of read the room. Some people want to show you around, some people don't care whatsoever, and they want to know that you're walking through the house and checking it out and taking notes. And I'll ask, do you mind if I take a couple pictures while I'm here? Just, so when I go back to the office, I can remember and recall certain things about the house. But yeah, I read the room, I'll ask, but the walkthrough's part of the process. Let's take a walkthrough, and they can either explain things that we wouldn't necessarily pick up on by viewing it. When did you paint these walls? When did, how old is this carpet? How old's the roof, and those things? And remember, it's an exterior walkthrough as well. So you're checking out the yard, but you might do that as you're approaching the house. And before you even knock on the door, you might stick your head around the back of the yard and kind of look around. And don't be afraid of doing that, because if nothing else, they're going to observe what you're doing. And if you're out back, taking a quick peek, it shows that you're taking that one extra step. A lot of people knock at the door, come in, and they're just stressed or anxious, and they're trying to impress the seller. And it's like, go slow, take your time, spend time on the house, on the client. And remember that it's not always about what we do or how we do it. It's more why we do it, and what we can do for them.
Love that. Love that. And I like to set people up. So when I call and I'm setting the appointment for the listing appointment, I like to just take a couple minutes and explain to them how the process is going to work. So I'll let them know, hey, when I get to your house, one of the things we're going to do is we're going to take a look at your house. I'm going to look at the exterior. We're going to look at the interior. Gives me a chance to really get to know your home and ask you some great questions, right? So I am a fan of walking through with the seller, because they will tell you information, right, as you're walking through the house. And it gives you the opportunity to keep asking more questions, right? So when you're walking through a house and you see a stain on the ceiling, right, gives you the opportunity, hey, can you tell me about that, right? Or I love, just when did this happen? When did that happen? Is there anything important I need to know that's going to help me in getting your home sold? Maybe in pricing your home, that kind of stuff. So take that time. I know I have seen people say, oh, I can be in and out of my listing presentation in 10 or 15 minutes. I personally cannot do that. Maybe because I talk too much, but I like to take my time, get to know the property, get to know the person. And that's how I think you really build those relationships.
Yeah. And also to add too, don't forget compliment. If you see something, if you see pictures of the kids, ask questions about those things. Cause it's not, you don't want to be generic that everything's all about the house and robotic. You want to be human and connect with them.
Exactly. One of the other things I like to do when I'm doing this process too, for anybody who's ever done a disc profile, okay, does anybody not know what I'm talking about when I say a disc profile? If you don't know what it is, I definitely recommend you do one, right? A disc profile is a personality assessment, and there's 4 major personality types, right? The other thing I like to do when I'm doing a walkthrough at a house, it gives me information about the person, right? If it's a person that has all kinds of family pictures and memorabilia and everything everywhere, right off the bat, that is important to that person. So I love that Roger said, gives you the opportunity to ask those kind of questions, right? If you're walking through a house and everything is super neat and white and organized and everything in their pantry is labeled, what does that tell you about that person and what's it going to be like dealing with them?
That the details matter.
Exactly. So that person, they're going to want to know all those market stats. They're going to want to know exactly what this process looks like, right? So take some time when you're doing that to ascertain, who am I dealing with here? Who am I working with? And how can I adjust my style, my personality, the information they're going to require from me based on what it looks like they're going to be wanting from me, right? So I like to take that time, not only to ascertain the property, but also to get a better handle on the client. And I think that's a great time to do that.
So Chris, just for some information, if you just Google Anthony Robbins DISC, you'll get that. It's like a 30-minute assessment. Go ahead and take that, and then you'll understand who you are, so that your communication style, sometimes you can be off-putting to somebody. For example, if you're talking to a D, which would be a driver or a dominant type personality, that's the type of person who wants, give me the facts, tell me what my house is worth, and enough of the superlatives, you know? If you're a high I in that case, and you're going on and on and on about things, you're going to lose that client. And also keep in mind too, when you're talking to a couple, you might be talking to a D and then a high I, or a high S or high C, or a combination of a couple of those things, because we flux in and out of those things depending on our situations as well. So having a good understanding of those communication styles is huge.
It is. I just put a link in the chat. So for anyone who has not done this, in addition to it being super informative and helping your business, it's really fun to discover, like, kind of what are your natural instincts, how you deal with things, right? So if you are not a detail, you know, I like everything just so kind of person, this helps you realize that, hey, I might have to adjust my style depending on who I'm dealing with, right? And so learning these traits and different personality traits can really help you in communicating with your client and recognizing what are they going to need from you, right? So to me, part of that walkthrough is not only evaluating the home, it's also evaluating my clients, right? Yeah, and you may discover when you sit down with a couple, I love that that came up, they're on different pages, right? So when it comes to pricing the property, sometimes, you know, I know agents that will have a little piece of paper and they give it to each of the couple, or whoever you're dealing with, if it's two people, and say, okay, I want you to write down on this piece of paper, without looking at what the other person is saying, what do you think your home is worth, right? And you might find they're on completely different pages. You know, so this is your opportunity, one, to figure out, like, where are they at? And you also maybe be able to ascertain during that time, who is the real decision maker in the relationship? Because I will tell you, in dealing with couples, one of them is usually ultimately the decision maker, and one will defer to the other. So by having great conversations, it helps you to ascertain who that person is going to be. Okay. All right. Any other questions about the walkthrough and what it looks like? And for me, I am usually taking notes during this time. So I let them know, hey, I'm going to jot down some notes as I'm walking through your house. Just as a reminder from me, what's there and what I may need to further discuss, right? I love that Roger said, be complimentary. Like, when I'm doing the walkthrough is not the time I'm critiquing the house, and not the time that I'm, oh, well, you should do this, you should do that, you should do this. It's really an observation time. And then if I feel that there are things that should be done to the property to get it ready for market, or recommendations, I'm going to do that after I've done my walkthrough. Okay. So, yeah, so keep that in mind. Yeah. So that's the walkthrough. And I like to take my time with that and make sure that I am, all right, Anita, did you have a question?
Do you record? Can you record when you're walking through, or it's not advised?
You could, but I would ask permission.
Okay. Because you tend to miss the details sometimes.
Yep, I'm a fan of, you know, we have such great tools right in our pocket, in our phone, right? So yeah, ask, do you mind if I take a couple pictures or a video as I'm walking through the home?
Okay.
Yep.
Thanks.
And it's really just to help you better evaluate the home.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you learn a lot when you ask that question, you know, because you want to take a video, and then you'll find out who's shy, you know, they'll step, oh, I don't want to be in it, right? You know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yep. And just say, hey, this is for my informational purposes only. So when I get back to the office, I've got some great information, you know. So yeah, but ask that question. I wouldn't just whip out my camera and start videotaping. I would always ask first. Okay. And then, there's a few different methods on doing pricing of homes. There's a one-step method and a two-step method. Roger, what is your preference in your marketplace? What do you think most agents are doing?
Personally, I like doing the two-step, although when you go in, be prepared to do it in one step, because sometimes that might present itself. But I feel, walking through the house, and it can also allow you an opportunity to make an adjustment. Sometimes I'll always go into the house with an understanding. I'll have already pulled comps, similar to what an appraiser will do. They've usually pulled comps before they even see the house.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have an idea of the ballpark of this price of the house, but until I actually see it physically and get to understand the floor plans, what's the workmanship like in the house, somebody might say, yeah, we just painted that room the other, 6 months ago, and you look up and you see, little, oh, it looks like the happy homeowner painted the room. So, you want to be able to gauge that. So that's where that walkthrough is important. And then you can go back and also, as I stated before, the time to criticize them is not there when they're showing it, the time to criticize the house will be when you're setting the expectation on price. And here's some of the reasons why, for example, with all due respect, the buyers are going to come in here and they're going to now notice, that you hit the ceiling, with the paintbrush, so it doesn't look like a professional was in here, but they're going to notice that because that's what they're looking for. And be sensitive to that.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. And I totally agree with you. I prefer the two-step process. Two-step process, what we mean by that is you go to their house, meet with them, do a walkthrough of the property. At that time, schedule another time to come back and present them with the price recommendation. Okay, that is my preferred. I agree with Roger. I like to get in the house, see what kind of condition it's in before I make that final recommendation. But like Roger, I do my homework. I pull some comps based on the neighborhood, based on the public records information. And so I usually have a pretty good idea of the range I think the house is going to be in before I walk in the door. And Roger, do you show up with a listing agreement ready to go in case they want to sign?
I always have it with me. Yeah. Yep. Because
Keep a
sometimes
couple printed copies of your core contracts and paperwork. Like I call it my to-go notebook, where I have copies of a buyer rep agreement, of a listing agreement, of just so in case you run into somebody who wants to sign today, right? Yeah. But again, my preferred method is the two-step, but be prepared. They may be ready to sign when the first time you go to their house. So be prepared for that. Yeah, love that. I like to kind of have the conversation, meet with them. I think the two-step process also builds that rapport a little better, because it gives you more opportunity to sit down and talk with them. Okay. All right. So closing the deal. What are we talking about when we say closing the deal?
Ask
Getting
for
them
that
to
business.
sign.
Yeah.
Getting them to sign the agreement, right? That's what we're talking about. There are skills here. There are scripts to learn to close the deal, right? Where can we find scripts to help us with this?
Right in our Ignite toolkit.
Right in the Ignite toolkit, there are some great scripts in there. So I think the link was added right in the chat here. For anyone who doesn't know where to find any of that, I'm happy to stay on and show you where to find all that information. But yeah, so learn those scripts, learn how to ask for the business, okay? And if they're not ready to sign, ask questions. If they're not ready to sign, it's because they have questions that haven't been answered most of the time, right? Or what's another reason why somebody may not be ready to sign? One, they have questions that you haven't answered yet. What's another reason?
Time frame?
Time frame, they're just not ready. Yep. What
They
else?
might wanna see and meet another agent before they make a decision.
Yep.
They
They
wanna
may be
interview.
meeting with other, they may be meeting with other agents, Andy. That's exactly what I was thinking. And
Yeah.
are you asking them, are they meeting with other agents? I recommend you ask that so you know. Okay, so you know if you're up against other agents, you know.
Yeah, if they don't
There
want
are,
to sign, if they don't want to sign right now, they probably want to, interview another agent. That's why you ask. You want to know that. So you ask if they meeting another agent right after you.
Mhm,
And then you
exactly.
might
I want to
also
know
ask,
that
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
because there's a reason they're not ready to sign, right? So having some great scripts and learning to ask questions will help you in getting that deal done.
Does that change your model from 1-step to 2-step? If you know that, yep, I got another agent, I got 3 more agents coming in right after you, would you want to try to?
Sometimes, right? There is a strategy that you can say, tell you what, I understand you've had those conversations with other agents. I'm happy to call that agent and let them know that you have signed with me, and that if they've got a buyer, we'd be happy to have them come and show the property. So you can offer to call those other agents and kind of cancel the appointment on behalf of the seller. So there is a strategy. Roger, how do you feel? Do you like to be the first agent in or the last agent?
I can be a little indifferent in that respect because I feel that if you're connecting on all levels and you're likable and you're good with the scripts, I mean, you just use an objection handler there for everybody to understand. Your role in that listing presentation is to uncover that stuff, and you have to be brave and ask the questions. Are you going to be talking to other agents? And then wait for the answer. And if they're hesitant, let them be comfortable. Listen, I wouldn't blame you if you would. Sometimes that's what people are advised. So it's okay. Set that stage that it's okay for them to be talking to other folks. And then when you're in that, and say it's your first meeting, you might ask at the end, say, listen, I do have one great favor for you. If I could ask, after you talk to everybody else, would you please give me the opportunity to come back and sit down with you and discuss anything that you may have learned, or help me understand what I may have missed, so that I can, go over those items too, because I can't possibly cover everything in a 20 to 30 minute conversation.
Yep.
And most people will say, oh, sure. Now, mind you, if another good agent goes in there and uses that objection handler that you just used, by saying, hey, listen, do you feel obligated, or are you under some sort of agreement with this other agent? And they go, no. So you feel obligated? Well, listen, what I can do for you is I can give that agent a call, let them know that you've signed up with me. And what we'll do is we'll invite them in prior to the, first open house, as long as I haven't disclosed that everybody else has to wait for the open house, and have them bring their buyers in, and they can actually sell the house for you.
You've got to have confidence in your presentation and your skills, right? And sometimes, I'm okay with them talking to other agents because I have confidence in my presentations and my conversations that I'm still going to win that listing, right? And so I'm okay with them. I'm with you. I know some agents are really like, I want to be the first one in the door. I want to be the last one in the door. I'm with you. I don't really concern myself so much with that, because I'm going to have confidence that they're going to want to work with me. And if they don't, are we going to get 100% of the listing appointments that we go on?
Never.
You're not, right? Michael Jordan didn't hit every basket that he shot at, right? So that sometimes we win, sometimes we learn, right? You're not going to get 100% of the listing appointments you go on.
Chris,
And
you
it's
just mentioned that learning part too. If you do lose a listing, get on the phone, call that seller and say, hey, appreciate the opportunity. I'd just like to learn more. Was there anything I could have done better or differently? And ask them. And most people will give you an honest answer.
Yep. So yeah, was it, they just felt more comfortable with somebody else? Do they already have a relationship with that other agent? Was it the pricing strategy they didn't care for? Because there's always going to be other agents out there, I'm just going to be blunt, who will do it for less money and will overprice their property to get the listing. And that's enticing for some people, you know? Hey, well, you know, they told me they could sell it for $100,000 more than you recommended.
Right.
Then
We
you
call
know
that
that.
buying a listing. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. There's a lot of strategies out there. There's a lot of scripts out there. You know, one of the ones is, well, they said they already have some buyers who would want to buy my home. Right. That's like an old script, like, hey, would you like to list? I've got a buyer interested in your property, in a property like yours. And then I'm talking about that representation conversation, right? So there's always, you know, there's always objections. There's always reasons why people go with a specific agent. And so, yeah, I think it just comes down to asking great questions. You know, there may be times, and I'll say this might have happened a couple times in my career, that you went to the listing and you don't really want that listing. Has that ever happened to you, Roger? You meet somebody or you see a property and you're like, I don't know if I'm the right agent for this property.
Yeah, if they're unrealistic and unreasonable about their price, why would you take that listing? You're just setting yourself up for disappointment and them for disappointment. I'll tell people, listen, if you know, there's three things that might happen today. One, you might decide to list with me. One, you might not decide to list with me. And number three is that I may find or realize that I can't help you, and I might not decide not to take the listing. And any one of those three are fine with me. Fair enough. And then you go on to your presentation, you know, and you've set that expectation that they're in control. You know, they can decide, you know, that, geez, we didn't particularly care for your pricing strategy. Oh, tell me more about that. What is it about the pricing strategy that you disagreed with? Maybe I missed something, you know, and now you're on that road to uncovering and giving yourself an opportunity to get to close for the deal. You know, if I can answer their question and satisfy their curiosity or their lack of information, and I go, so what do you think? You ready to put me to work here today? You know, and hire me as your listing agent? Don't miss that opportunity. You should always ask at the end. And if they say no, there's an objection there. You know, or if
And
they
there's a
say
reason,
we're not really
right?
ready, there's an objection. Your job's to go deep into that and try to find out what that objection is. If just be honest with me, I don't mind. You're not going to hurt my feelings. What's holding you back from signing today?
Exactly. So I did just pull up a script on, can you guys see this script here, signing the listing agreement? So this is right from the script section in the elementals. And these are some great questions, right? So this is
Chris, we can't see it.
You're not
Still
seeing
on
it.
closing the deal.
Yeah.
See, I might have to stop and then reshare. Let's see. There we go. You guys seeing it now?
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep.
Awesome. So yeah, so get comfortable with these questions, right? This is assuming you've agreed on price, right? Which can be a whole nother conversation. But you know, once you've had that conversation on price and you know where you're at, these are some great questions just to ask when you're ready to sign the agreement. You know, are you ready to move on? Is there anything we need to do before we get started? You know, so are you ready to decide to choose me to represent the sale of your home? Okay. You know, because sometimes people are hesitant to sign the agreement. And so help them along by asking these great questions and providing them the confidence that you can do the job.
And that also, sometimes we're hesitant to ask that question because we're afraid of the answer. So especially when you're new, you know, you gotta ask. You know, they call it all closing ABC. Ask them, am I the type of agent you'd like to work with? You might ask that early on, you know, just to kind of take their temperature, you know. Don't be afraid.
Yeah, what are you looking for in an agent, right? Because the questions, when you ask that, what are you looking for in an agent? How would you like me to handle the sale of your home? The responses may come back and say, geez, I'm not sure I want this listing. I hate to say that, but like, you might be there like, I don't know that like I can commit to what they're really looking for, or maybe I should be referring this off. And I don't want to say don't try to get the business, but this is also an opportunity for you to ascertain, does this fit in my standards of how my business works and how I want to do business? You know, because is it important to know do they, and different markets do this differently. Do they expect me to be at every showing of their home? Right? Because in some markets, that's just kind of a standard that's how it's done. In some markets, it's not done that way. And so find out, what do they expect from me in representing them in their home sale? You know, so I think you're so right on, Roger, like just keep asking those great questions so you understand what the relationship's going to look like. Okay. And then set the stage for timing, right? Timing when you're going to list a property. Let's see if I can go back to my other screen share.
Chris, we might be ready for a break in a few minutes.
Absolutely. So let's take I love that. So let's take a 5-minute break. You guys feel free to shut up your video, check your voicemails, check your phones if you need to. We'll come back and I think we're going to actually practice, you know, what this actually looks like. So we will come back actually at 10:20. Does that work for everyone?
Yep.
We'll take a break and I'll see you back here. Well, it's 6 minutes, so you got an extra minute there. So 10:20, let's jump back in.
It is frustrating.
He was no help. Yeah.
All right, I got 10:20 on my computer, so I'm back. So if everyone can jump back in, I got a fresh cup of coffee. Right, so
Oh, we
hang
might
on, because
trouble then, huh?
I think this is number 3 today, so.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. Yep, the caffeine's kicking in. So as everybody jumps back in, any questions or ahas of what we've gone over so far?
I just wanted to say that I think taking their lead is very important.
Taking their lead?
Yes.
So tell me more about that. What do you mean?
Oh, I can't. Hold on one second. I'll come back to you.
Okay. What do you think what do you think they mean by taking their lead? What do you get from that? Anybody? Go ahead, Shelley.
Learn how to read the room.
Read the room, read the people, right? Yeah. Find out what their needs are. I think that's what she's referring to. Yeah. Find out what's important to them.
Yeah, and their pace too.
Their what?
The pace of how they want things done.
Mm-hmm. Is this somebody I may need to slow down my own personal style to help them understand it, right? Do they not care about the details? They just want to get right to the point, right? Helping you understand who you're dealing with, what you're dealing with. Mm-hmm. Yep. Any other ahas? How many of you feel like I need to get my presentations ready?
You should be if you're not.
If you do not have a pre-listing presentation ready to go today, you should be doing that, okay? If you do not have a listing presentation ready to go, that's something else you should be working on. So I'm thinking most people on this call are new to the business or reinventing themselves for their business, right? These are classes designed for people to break into the industry and learn how to do the business. So you're in that portion of your career where you are learning, right? You are in that learning portion. So you've got to take the time every day to do those activities that are going to move you forward to becoming a successful producing agent. Part of that is having these type of things ready to go and know how to present them, know what to say to people, right? So if you have not done this yet, I do recommend you take a little time and create these presentations, right? Better, I love the expression. I actually used to have a little sticky note over my computer, better done than perfect. We worry about it. I am the same way. I want it to be perfect before I give it to anybody. I want my presentation to be just so, right? Just get one done. You can always edit it, tweak it, enhance it, adjust it as you go forward, right? But have something ready to go, because that is really what's going to set you apart from other agents. Okay, so if nothing else, hopefully you get that takeaway from this today. All right, I'm actually going to share my screen here for a minute, and we're going to jump back into the scripts. Okay, so when you are meeting with someone, right, one of the first things, if you have provided them with a pre-list packet, either via email or you dropped it off or whatever, ask them if they had a chance to look at it. Did they have a chance to review the pre-listing packet? You know, are some people going to say yes and some people going to say no? Absolutely. So you're going to know who are the kind of people who like to do their homework, like to be prepared. I am a fan of having a copy of this to refer back to in case they have any questions. And that could be, excuse me, that could be you have a printed copy, or you've got your tablet or your computer with you, and you can review it with them in case they have any questions. Okay, and give them a chance to ask those questions. Do you have any questions about this? Let's review it if you have any questions. Excuse me. Need more coffee. Any ahas on this? How does this help you, the agent, or how does it help the client?
I think it again shows that you're prepared.
I think it also shows that you care about them, right? Do you have any questions about that information? Great. Let's, before we move on. So if they haven't answered those questions at the end, this might be the time to sit down and ask some of those questions. Okay, so if they haven't taken the time to look at it and answer some of those questions, this might be the time to sit down and try to get some of those questions answered if there's things that were not covered in your pre-listing interview or questionnaire, right? I love these questions, and these aren't always easy to ask, but what does a great experience look like to you? And sit and let them answer that question, because it might be different things for different people. I want a hassle-free transaction, right? I want it to sell for the most money possible. I want you to have top-notch marketing, right? Find out what it means to them, right? And if you are dealing with a couple or two people, let them each address the question, because each one might be expecting a different experience from the listing. So I like to kind of sit back and let them talk and find out what information I can. Okay. Why do you think this is important to ask that question? What their expectations are? What does a 10+ experience look like for them?
So you know what to deliver.
You know
what
to
they're
deliver.
expecting you to deliver.
Great communication goes a long way in a transaction, right? So find out from the beginning what's important to them. One, it's going to help you, and it's also going to give them the impression or make them realize that you care about what's important to them. And again, it's building that relationship, building that rapport. Why me? Right? When you get to this, I think this is one of the things that's the hardest for new agents. Why would they list with me? I don't have a big track record. I can't show up and say I've sold X amount of homes. Be prepared, right? If they ask why you, okay, if you are new to the business, right, there are scripts for that, right? Use your market center's stats, right? Refer to your office, your team, your market center as my team, because you really truly do have a support team behind you here at Keller Williams. You've got coaches, you've got, staff, you've got team leaders. That is one of the things that sets us apart and makes us unique, is that you truly do have a team behind you, and have that approach when you're talking to the client. That is a strength that you can bring to the transaction, even if you're a new agent. Here in Maine, we are the largest company. We sell more properties than any other company in the state of Maine. And I am hoping all of our agents are having that conversation with somebody when they're sitting down to sell their home. So provide that confidence that they are working with a company and a team who can get the job done. Okay. So any questions on that, or how you find out that information about your market center, about your numbers in the industry?
So Chris, I'd like to add something there too. We were always afraid of getting the question that we can't field. So leveraging that team and understanding that that's okay to have a question. Like, for example, the best response might be, that's a great question. Can I get back to you that tomorrow? Let me check on that. I got a few people I'd like to ask and run it by, so I can come back and give you the proper information. And that's you leveraging that team, that access that, in our case, at our market center, we have over 200 agents with all different types of experience. And I have an opportunity to be able to connect with all those agents in one click of a button through our Facebook mastermind. Go out and putting that question in there, going out and asking them and getting their consensus to get back to the client. And nobody's going to judge you, and you're not going to know the answers to every question at any given time. So it's okay to say, that's a great question. Let me get back to you on that. I'd like to do a little research on it, and I'll get back to you tomorrow if that's okay with you.
Exactly. So I don't know if this makes newer agents feel worse or better, but I've been doing it 20 years. I don't know how long you've been doing this, Roger. People are
Close.
always going to ask you questions that you don't know the answer to.
Right.
It's, I think that was one of my biggest, when I first started in real estate. Wow, I don't know the answer to a lot of these questions they're asking. 20 years in, that still happens to me, right? So you're never going to know all the answers. And that is my favorite line. That's a great question. I'm going to make sure I'm providing you with the best information. So I'd love to get back to you on that. Don't be afraid and don't get nervous because you don't know all the answers. You're never going to know all the answers. Granted, over time, as you have more experience in the industry, you're going to have a lot more different situations you've been involved in. So you will know more answers, but there's always going to be times you don't know everything. And so just realize that and be prepared to ask if you can get back to them on that.
And be the resource. Be the resource to the resource. Guide them, direct them. That's a great, wonderful question. If it's a legal question, defer that to an attorney. And if they need one, I have one that'll take your call. Same with mortgage officers. Same with a home inspection question types of things. What's the home inspector going to do at my home inspection? Go on a home inspection and shadow it so you can be familiar with what goes on, and let them know what's going to happen next.
Exactly. Yeah. Just be prepared. I think that's one of the best things we can do is align ourselves with other people who are going to help us with our business. A great mortgage person, a great home inspector, an attorney, a tax, you know what I mean? So don't expect to have all the answers for everything. When they start asking you all kinds of tax questions and ramifications about taxes, like I am not an accountant, I am not a tax expert. I'm always going to defer that kind of stuff to somebody who is an expert in that field, because I don't want to be giving them tax advice because I am not the expert
right.
on that.
We shouldn't be giving them any tax advice or legal advice. It's actually inappropriate and against the law to practice law, right? You have to have a license to do that. And that's part of your team too. I mean, keep in mind, those people aren't foreign objects to you. The lawyer, the mortgage officer, the home inspector, the financial tax guy, they're part of our team. That's part of that leverage that we have that, everybody doesn't understand. And any one of those professions will take your call because you are a lead source to clients for them. So they're going to be more than happy to help you and answer your questions. So don't be afraid to do that, especially if you're dealing with closing attorneys. Don't be afraid to get on the phone with that closing attorney if you have a question for them.
Exactly. And if you are new and you're like, well, I don't have these allied resources yet, go to other agents in your company, go to your leadership team. Hey, I'm looking to align with a great attorney, a great title company, et cetera, and ask other agents how they're doing it and who they would recommend. Because our clients are depending on us and expect us to have these allied resources available for them, or at least provide them with resources they could go to should we not be able to answer their questions, or it's something outside of our area of expertise. Yeah. So if nothing else, when you're starting out your business, start building that team of allies, and rely on other people who've gone before you, who've done it before you, to help you with that. And it doesn't hurt to just call and introduce yourself to some of these people. If there is a potential for future business for them, they're going to take your call. They're going to be happy to talk with you, to give you some advice. So don't be afraid to pick up the phone and talk to some of these people, because they're happy to help. They're happy to help and share their expertise. All right, so that's the why me, right? So helping them see their listing through the eyes of the buyer, right? So when we're talking about the condition of the home, right? We're talking about things that are distracting in the home. And again, I am probably not having this conversation as we're doing the walkthrough. I think a lot of this comes down to justification for pricing and why you see the pricing as you do, you know, but you are going to want to have that conversation. You know, I love to say to people, next time you come home from work or you drive into your home, pretend you've never been here before. What are your first impressions? You know, what does your curb appeal look like? You know, pretend you've never been in your bathroom or your kitchen before. You know, I love to kind of have them try to approach it with fresh eyes. And then, you know, I love this agreement at the end. You know, once we agree to work together, I'll advise you on how to properly prepare your home to accomplish your goals. Does that sound good? Right? Because they are looking to us. I think if we look back on what are they expecting from us, 16% were looking for advice on getting their home ready. So what kind of resources do we have available to us for that?
One of our team members would be a stager.
Right. Yep. So could you make advice to them based on my observation in your home? This is my recommendation. Sometimes it's nice to have a staging consult come in, right? So find out who's doing staging in your area. Find out what their prices are to come in. So many stages will come in and just do a consultation. You know, for me, depending on the property, sometimes it's nice to have somebody else telling my home seller that their house smells like their cat, right? Sometimes it's nice to have somebody else giving them that information. Okay. And so, yeah, if the property requires it, you could offer for a staging consultation. You know, so I think, again, it depends on the property and the people, but, you know, that's an opportunity to help them do that. And so, you know, I really think we are in the point in society right now. Most people are looking for a move-in ready home, right? Are you guys finding that in your market too? You call it the HGTV generation, whatever you want to call it. I think most people want to be able to just move right into a home, and that's their expectation. And, you know, how can we counsel the seller to make that possible? And I will tell you, here in Maine, half of it is just decluttering their property, right? So start counseling them on how do you get your home ready for the market, right? There are tools, there is information you can provide to them, but that's love that
Chris, somebody
stuff.
just asked in the chat who pays for that staging consultation, and that's a good opportunity to use that as almost like a closing objective there. So when you guys are ready to put me to work, I can certainly get the stager in here, and you know, we would be happy to pay for that. And you know, should we decide to work together, you know, and sign the agreement, it's a good opportunity to kind of close on somebody, to see where they are as well.
Sorry, my phone was ringing, so I muted myself. Yeah, so decide, is that part of something I'm going to offer to my clients? Would I be willing to pay for a consultation from a stager, right? So sometimes it depends on the property, the price point, right? But are you willing to spend, you know, I don't know what stagers are charging in your neck of the woods for a consultation. Find that out. And is it something I'm willing to spend this money for this client to help them prepare for the market, right? That could be a service that you provide to your sellers is, hey, one of the things you get when you list with me is I will have a stager come to your house and do a consultation. And so, yeah, I think it can work both ways. You, the agent, can pay for that, or you can put it on the seller to pay for that, right? It's just how you want to do your business. For me, it's kind of property specific. If it's a higher end property that I feel would really benefit from staging, I'm probably going to pay for that initial listing consultation, because one, they're going to tell them things I don't want to have to tell them, like the cat smell, right? And it's also going to give them insight from another professional, from another professional's eyes. And so for me, it's kind of property specific, whether I am going to be willing to pay for that consultation or not. But know that going in, is that something I'm going to provide, I'm willing to provide to my sellers?
Chris and Roger, there's one more question in the chat from Jennifer. It says, would you wait till the home is ready, decluttered, and repairs made before having them sign with you?
What do you
It's a
guys
good
think?
question. Yeah, it's a good.
That is a good question.
No
What,
way.
Well, share your experience with that, Lauren.
I would have them sign right away, because part of your job will be to work with them and help them, with the decluttering, not physically, but point them in the right direction as far as with the stager and everything else. But if they don't sign with you, there's obviously a chance another realtor comes in and scoops them up. And then you just lost out, and you've been putting in all this time and effort and maybe money towards a stager. So you want to make sure you have that contract signed before you go too far in and start spending your own money and time with someone.
Yeah, it's happened where you put a lot of energy and you've spent money. So don't spend a dime unless you've got a signed agreement. But your time is money too, your time and energy. You can spend months and months with people prepping their house to sell. And it's happened, Lauren's one of our coaching clients, and one of our other clients in a seasoned agent came in, I don't know, 3 weeks prior to them being ready to list. And this agent thought she was getting the listing, spent $100 or so on a stager, did all that time, even went over and helped. And that person walked in, signed the agreement, and she found out the next day that, she was going to be, she wasn't getting the listing. So yeah, you always want to ask for that listing. You want to have it signed before you go too far down that rabbit hole with a client, because you know what, I'd rather lose them today than wait till Thursday and lose them on Thursday.
And there are opportunities.
I have a quick
go ahead,
question.
Andy.
Sorry to interrupt. I'll be honest with you. Excuse me. I'll be honest with you. I never heard about stagers. Who are those people? Is this some kind of profession, licensed people that help to prepare the house for sale? And do we have to use them at every sale that we're gonna be doing? I mean, a little more specific. What is that staging part or that of sale?
So there are accredited stagers out there. Yes, there are realtors who are accredited stagers. Some realtors will do all their own staging, and that's part of their value proposition to their clients. I am an accredited stager, and there's certifications that they can get around those things. But for the most part, we all know staging as simply decluttering, depersonalizing the property. People, when they come in to buy a house, they're looking at your stuff. And if there's too much stuff in that room, they can't see their stuff there. So we're always trying to thin rooms out. Same with closets, same with basements. If the basement's packed, looks unorganized and all disheveled, but the seller thinks it's organized and not disheveled, we want them to see that through the buyer's eyes. So we want to encourage them to pack as if you're moving. You're moving, correct? And they go, yeah. I go, well, then start packing things you're not using today and get them into a nice box and put them neatly down in the corner of the basement, so that when the folks come down, they can see the floor space. Because that's, after all, would you pay more for what you perceive to be more floor space and more square footage than if everything was just packed into rooms and you can't even move around the furniture? So that's the whole staging. And yeah, there's a profession of people who that's all they do, staging.
And Andy, you don't have to use a stager by any means. It's completely optional. Each realtor runs their business a little bit differently. Like Roger said, some realtors will do the staging themselves. Maybe they're accredited, maybe they're not. Maybe they just feel comfortable helping out and handling that. So you don't have to. It can also be a judgment call, but it's also part of maybe one of the services you offer. A lot of times homes that are staged and at least organized and decluttered sell for more money faster than those that are cluttered and a mess, because people can't visually see themselves and they don't want to spend, they don't feel like it's worth it because it doesn't look as appealing. So they won't spend that top dollar. So there is statistics to support staging. But then you have some homeowners who keep their house immaculate, like HGTV. You walk in and you're like, oh, we may not even need anyone. So it really, I think, depends on the home and your business and how you choose to run it. But it's not mandatory by any means.
All right, thank you, Laura.
Yeah. And that also brings back, read the client's expressions. When if you're in there telling them, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to pay attention to their reactions to that and read that situation. And sometimes you have to take a step back because you're overwhelming them. Oh my God, I'm, for an example, an 80-year-old person or an elderly couple, they're going to be blown away. Oh, what? Sometimes it's just, you have to do what you have to do. They're not in a situation financially or physically to do it. And there have been times where I've gone in and helped clean out a basement. You have to read that situation independently. And Lauren's absolutely correct. There's no requirement, although, if you're doing your job and helping influence or persuade them to do as much as they possibly can do, I always give them the option. You can do all of it, some of it. I don't want you to do none of it, but if that is your choice as the seller, they're in control of the situation. So reading that person as well is pretty important as well.
Yep. I think it's great to have some information about preparing your home for market. I took a staging class like years ago, and I still remember this conversation. Is staging really like what is getting a home ready for market, right? It's declutter, it's clean, and then stage, right? And staging might be moving around furniture, bringing in items to make the home more appealing, right? In my experience, if we can get people to declutter and clean, that's like a win for most people.
Huge, right?
Right. And so yeah, the other thing, I am starting the conversation with sellers about packing from day one, because it is a lot of work and people underestimate how much work it is and how much time it takes. So I am encouraging them right from the get-go when we're talking about getting your home ready for market, just like Roger said, of starting to pack things up. Start deciding now, what are you taking with you? When you move, what are you not taking with you? And anything you're not taking with you, start getting rid of it, right? It's okay if you have neatly piled boxes in your basement, in your garage, of things you started packing up. Buyers know you're moving, right? So I'd rather see 10 boxes neatly packed than all kinds of clutter all over the house. So I start that conversation right from the beginning. And so, yeah, I think it depends on the property, it depends on the person, whether you actually need to bring in a professional stager or not.
And Chris and Roger, it looks like Mitch has his hand raised.
Oh, sure.
So just to throw this out there, we had in our Keller Williams 700 Market Center yesterday, a company come in. They not only photograph, but they also do virtual staging. So that's an option also. And I just read that it's a lot cheaper than having a stager come in. So that's an option.
So Mitch, for anyone on here who doesn't know what that is, what is virtual staging?
So to give you an example, the gentleman that came to our office had done a staging for one of our people in the office, and he cleaned up virtually through his ability on photograph. He was able to clean up the pool because it was, I guess, off season and the pool had turned green. He was able to make it so that it looked crystal clear in the picture. And that was really, that was big. So they would then do a room. They could take a room and take pictures of it and then virtually put in furniture in the room that wasn't there to begin with. So that's pretty neat. My only question to that is, and I should have asked it in the meeting, when they do a virtual setup like that, and then the buyers come in to look at it, aren't they surprised that, like, hey, this isn't what it looked like when I looked at the pictures?
Yes.
So you bring up a great point. So when you are doing that, you are obligated to disclose that at least, that, you know, this has been virtually staged. And you might even take it a step further, have a photograph of the photograph and then the staged photograph so that they can see the contrast and difference. Because you're right, if somebody shows up and goes, you know, like for example, that pool, they look at that pool and it's green. Geez, this is gorgeous in the pictures. What happened here with the pool? You know, I'd rather have them show up knowing that, listen, this is not the pool in its state right now. So their expectations are being met there too. And there's a little bit of integrity in there as well.
Right, because we don't want to misrepresent a property, right? So I would disclose if it was virtually staged. I think virtual staging is a nice opportunity for a vacant property because it, you know, some people have a hard time envisioning how to live in a property if it's vacant. And so by virtually staging it and showing this is what it would look like with furniture in place, et cetera, I think that's a great opportunity. But I would always disclose this is virtual staging.
Thank you. I think that's a great idea.
So
Good
that
question,
question of, would you wait until the home is ready for repairs? I think we've all determined, like, get them to sign, right? There is coming soon opportunities available in our MLS. We can get them to sign, give them time to really get it ready for market while we're working on, you know, preparing, you know, our listing strategy, our marketing strategy, et cetera. So, you know, if there are things that should be done prior to it going active in the MLS, go ahead and get it signed and have your date for when it's going to go active, when you're going to start having showings. The nice thing about doing it that way too is the seller kind of has a timeline of when of how long they've got to do it. And you do have to gauge as the agent, are they going to be willing to do this? Because I'm telling you, some people don't want to do it. Some people do not want to declutter. They do not want to clean. That's their decision, but it's probably going to be reflected in their price. So if they say, I'm not doing anything, okay, that's your decision, but it may affect your price, and here's how.
Right,
You
and
know,
that's
so-
also an objection too. You know, tell me more about that. What is it that's holding you back from doing this? And it might be a physical ailment or back issues. You never know. And then you can offer remedies to help them with that. And they still may say no, but that's okay. You've got to make sure that you handle, at least take them through that objection process by letting them know, okay, I get it. Now repeating it back, then isolating, is that the only reason? And then go ahead and handle that situation by giving some sort of solution that they may or may not take. And then you're closing for, would that be something you could accomplish? Or would it be helpful if I hired somebody to come in as part of my, you know, you might be willing to pay somebody to come in there and help them with some staging to get the listing, but I'll do that as long as you pay for it up front, and I'll reimburse you at the closing for those things. That way they don't get stuck if the property expires or they cancel for whatever reason, and so on.
So cleaners, you know, it like Roger said, it may just be physically they're not able to do what should be done to the property. You know, again, that's an allied resource. Do you have somebody that could be hired to help them, you know, get their house ready? You know, so again, be seen as that resource for them. And, you know, that's just another allied partner you can have. And so be prepared for that. Some people want to do the things to their home. They want your advice. What should we be doing? What should we be doing? Some people, it comes as a shock, like, wow, I have to do stuff to my house to get it ready for market. Again, that's what's so important about that meeting with them and sitting down and talking to them, gauging their expressions, their reactions to your conversation. That's going to really help you have an idea of how much are they going to be willing to do. Because it can make a big difference in price, you know, or at least the offers they're going to get from people who walk in the door. And I'm just going to be realistic with them. If they do not want to do any of this work, that's their decision. I have my recommendations, but just understand, like, these are the ramifications of if you don't do these things. I want them to understand that right up at the get-go, that, you know, this may affect how much money you actually get for your property or how long it's going to be on the market. You know, all those things affect that. So So
Chris, do
Jennifer
you
had
have-
a,
Oh, I was just gonna, it looks like you saw the question. I was just gonna let you know there's another question.
I do, I have my chat open. So how soon do we list on MLS after signing and put out signpost? Anybody else want to touch on that?
So again, state to state is going to be different. Every MLS, check with your MLS, your local MLS, whoever you're using. For example, in Massachusetts, we can do coming soons. I believe we can do it up to 21 days. So that means you get the listing signed and then you've got 21 days, but there's some paperwork that has to be filed with our MLS to do that. So that's something you would check with your MLS, or at least your leadership in your office or other agents who would know better than you.
Exactly. I think all MLSs, this was like handed down from NAR in 2020 in regards to when it has to go in the MLS. And I'm in Maine, we have 14 days. It can be in a coming soon status. So know those rules, know how that all works. Ask someone if you're not sure what those rules are with the MLS. But yeah, here in Maine, we can do a coming soon status. We can put it into the MLS in a coming soon status. And at that point, we can market it as coming soon. And we can put a post out as long as it has a coming soon rider on it. So make sure you're having that conversation and finding out those rules specific to your MLS. Okay. You know what? I am going to touch on something just for a minute here too. So, you know, we talk about getting them to sign the agreement. How do we sit down and have them sign the agreement? How well do you feel like you know your listing agreement contract? Is anybody like, yeah, I know this agreement. I know how to explain it. I know how to explain every paragraph. I understand it. How many of you feel confident with that contract?
Looks like some people need to be reading that.
So, you know, part of my role here at our company is I deal with a lot of compliance in regards to handling broker questions. And one of my advice to new agents is learn those contracts. Okay. So I will say when I first started in the business, I worked for like a little mom and pop company and they were great people. They provided me with very little training, but one of the things they emphasized was to learn those contracts, be able to understand what is in those contracts. And if you are not at that level, that is something you need to be working on. Okay, because yes, we want to have a great listing presentation, a pre-list presentation, but if you sit down to sign the contract and you don't know how to explain it to your clients, if you don't understand it yourself, I think that is just as important as the actual listing presentation. Okay, so if you don't have classes in your market center on contracts, of how to understand the contracts, how to present them, get some training on that. Ask to meet with your coach, an experienced agent, because that is going to be part of the confidence building with your client, is how well do you understand that contract and it can explain it to them. Because I'm going to tell you, most sellers have never seen this contract before. They do not understand what they're signing, why they're signing it, what it all means. You need to be able to explain that to your client. Any thoughts on that, Roger?
Yeah. So short of reading it out loud to the client who can read for themselves if they chose to, you want to be able to surmise it succinctly to let them know that, hey, listen, this is a simple listing agreement. This is going to explain what I'm going to do for you, what you're going to do for me. It's going to cover the fee. It's going to cover the terms of the contract. And then any other additional provisions that we may add to the contract. For example, something like that might be, hey, listen, I'm willing to pay up to $500 of staging, and this is how it would work. You know, you may outline that in under additional provisions. You know, name, rank, and serial number are going to be on there. The contract's not with me personally as a salesperson. The contract is with the brokerage. So in just understanding that that's for the gist of that contract. Now, having said that, you want to get it in their hands so that they can read it if they choose to. And some people will read it page to page, you know, or every word. Most people won't even look at it. They're going to trust you to explain it to them very briefly and quickly.
Yep. So one of the things, be able to look at it upside down across the table And I do the same. I just kind of go through paragraph by paragraph and give a quick summary of what each means. Some people don't like, they just want to sign it, right? If they're just like, they just want to sign it, they don't care about the details, I am going to touch on the things that are important for them to know, right? And that might be like, hey, it's really important you understand this paragraph, that paragraph, and be able to summarize that paragraph. This is what this means. Okay. So again, I know I'm tasking you guys with a lot today. We want you to do a pre-listing agreement. We want you to know how to do the listing presentation. The contracts are super important as well.
And use highlighters when you're going over those contracts. Just highlight the spots that you think are important that you're going to point out, especially. So that way they're easily looking down at the contract and you're pointing using a pen. Good idea to use a pen. You know, you're getting them ready to sign, pointing to everything that you're talking about. Just like I said, give them the highlights, and then any questions of the contract. You want to take a moment to read through it, give them the opportunity. 99% of people are going to go, okay, where do I sign? You know,
because they just trust us. Like to me, part of it is they're just willing to sign. To me, that's a win because they already trust me that, hey, they're willing to sign this contract with me. Right. I'm always going to point out certain things in the contract to them. So figure out what is important for them to know signing this paperwork and signing the contract.
And that's where objections will come up too, especially if you're talking fee, you know. But most people, don't be afraid. Most people aren't going to object. And even if they do object to something, that's an indicator that they're interested in you. You just have to fill in a blank spot for them.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Most people do not, your fee, you know, the term of the contract, that kind of stuff. A lot of time, in my experience, people will just do what you recommend.
Right.
Right. So make sure they understand what they're signing. All right. So I always like to touch on that, the contracts. I know it's not in this presentation, the contract part of it, but I feel it's just as important to understand that contract and be able to present that contract as it is all this other information. So if you have not done that, taken the time to understand a listing agreement, then now's the time to do that. All righty. All right, I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint here. So now we've gone through, how do you pre-qualify them? What do you do before the appointment? You're doing your homework on the people, on the property, gathering all that information on the market, right?
Chris, you got to share your screen again.
Oh, I did, but it's not showing. Let's try this again. It says on my end I'm sharing, but are you guys seeing it now?
No, not me.
It's showing on my
I
end.
see it. Is it the one that says recap and ahas? Is that where the bullet's on?
Yeah. Yeah.
See it.
There it is now.
Okay, we're seeing. There we go. Little delay here. I'm working up my hotspot because I'm having internet issues. Yeah, so we've met with them at the listing appointment. Woohoo! We have succeeded in getting that listing appointment. What's the next step? What's the aha here? What have we gone over that's been a surprise to you guys? Or are you like, holy cow, I need to do this to get ready to go on a listing appointment? Anybody willing to share their ahas? Like, and you know, this is a safe group. Feel free to you know, to open up and say, this is what I need to do in my business to be ready for that.
Learning
and
the
what questions
contract.
do you have about that?
Learn the contract. I didn't go through.
Okay, so now Anita knows she needs to learn the contracts. Okay, so spend some time, ask someone to help you with that if you have questions or don't understand it. Maybe ask an experienced agent, your coach, somebody in leadership, hey, would you sit down and explain this contract to me like I was a client? I like to do that with my coaching clients is, hey, let's role play, let's practice. Do you want to see me do it first? I'm happy to do that with you first, like you are a client. Let's sit down and do it. And just practice. I mean, practice. I can't emphasize enough how that's going to give you confidence in going into an appointment. All right. Any other ahas of something you guys are like, okay, now I know I need to work on this?
Start our listing presentations.
So get those presentations template. We've got templates to use. Just get one ready to go. And does everyone know where you can find those templates and presentations to start working on them? Is there anybody who doesn't know where to find that stuff? So Andy, have you been in your, no,
I was gonna ask you where to find it. I mean, is it on the KW page or it's a different page? How do I find those forms that I can?
In command.
so I think a great place to start is in command in designs. So within designs,
Okay, gotcha.
in Ignite, there is a great pre-list presentation. So in the elementals in the toolkit, there is a pre-list presentation in there that you can edit. I believe that's a Word doc in there that you can edit. And then in designs within command, there are listing presentations to choose from.
Okay, excellent.
And then it's a templated form. You can include all the pages, some of the pages. I am a fan of kind of tweaking it. I don't like to have a 40-page listing presentation. I have pared mine down so it's about 6 to 8 pages of key information they need to know, right?
I was going to ask that because some of them show like 29 pages and I'm like, do I have to bring all these or can we just break it down like you said, like 6 to 8 around there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I have gone through that template and really picked out those key pages that I think is the most pertinent information for them to know. Because I think for most people, if you're giving them a 24, 40-page document, they're probably not going to look at the whole thing. So I want to bring those key things to that presentation of what I feel is most important for them to know. Okay. And again, might it change a little based on the person or the property type? Yeah. If you're going on a high-end luxury listing presentation, you might want to tweak that presentation a little bit, right? To account for the property that you're going on. But I love, just having that ready to go when I need it. So role play listing appointments. I love that, Vanessa. Yeah. Find somebody you can role play with, another new agent. And it's embarrassing. It's awkward at first, right? Would you not rather practice with somebody who wants to help you improve, like another new agent, like somebody in your household who's willing to sit down with you? Would you rather practice on your clients? Or would you rather practice with somebody who's going to allow you to practice, right? I love sports, so I always go back to the sports analogies. Tom Brady still goes to practice every day on those days he's not playing the football game, right? Professionals practice when they're not in the game. It's no different for us, okay? Practice, practice, practice. So when you're in front of that client, it's game time and you're ready to go. And so I just love that. Better done than perfect. Thank you, Anita. That is yeah, one of my little mottos I'll keep down because I kind of obsessed that I want everything to be perfect before I do anything.
Yeah, I just wanted to jump in here real quick. I had raised my hand. Maybe you didn't see it on your screen. For the gentleman, I forget his name, that was asking about the listing presentation before. I'm not sure what market center he's in. However, in our market center in Keller Williams Coastal and Lakes and Mountains, we have our marketing director, Alana Babineau, and she's available for us to make appointments with her, and she will sit down with us. I don't know if they have that at every market center. However, she'll sit down with us and walk you through and do the whole thing with you and help you do that. So look for someone in your market center who can maybe do that for you or with you.
Thank you, Carol. That's a great point. That is a great point. Most market centers have people who are available who can help you with your marketing if need be. So love that. Yeah, again, depend on those resources that you have available from your team to do that. All right. So lastly, let's visit our daily success habits. Right. I'm going to share my screen again. Let's see if this will work. Fingers crossed. You should be seeing ahas to achievement, right?
Yep.
So we always like to talk about what have we learned today. So how anybody here, how has your thinking changed and what ideas or mindsets have you come away with from what we've been talking about today?
don't be afraid to ask questions, whether at the presentation.
Make it about them. Ask great questions. Ask great questions. And don't be afraid, just like I do in training, don't be afraid for that pregnant pause. When you ask a question, embrace the silence. Let them think about it. Let them answer. Okay, so ask great questions. What else has somebody taken away from this today?
Coming back, suppose they are going to inquire other agents. Roger said, request them for an appointment to come back and discuss some points you didn't address earlier. So you get a second meeting.
Yep. And I kind of like to be in that position to come in after they may have talked to other agents. So I can be the one to answer the questions that the other agents didn't answer. Right? So that's that strategy. You want to be first or last, right? That's why if you're going to come back and you know they're meeting with other agents, what questions might you have that haven't been answered yet by myself or other agents, right? So yeah, love that. So how does anybody feel differently after going through this about going on a listing appointment or how to prepare for these conversations with sellers? And what from what we talked about today was like, oh, okay, this kind of changes my mind about what this means to me and how my approach is going to be with potential listing clients. So have we changed anybody's mindset about how to approach these type of appointments?
In the chat, it says like more confidence to being doable, more confidence in the process.
Awesome. And that's really like the power of having these tools available. It really is, especially for a newer agent. So who's gonna do something today? So how will your behaviors be different moving forward? And what's an action that somebody's gonna take to propel themselves to be ready to handle these listing appointments? And I'll look in the chat as well. So feel free to jump in or put it in the chat. What's something you're gonna put into action to help you be ready for this?
Work on a pre-listing questionnaire.
Right? And I love that. And I think this ties into what tools, systems, or models are you going to use, right? So it's, do I have systems in place to prepare myself for listing appointments and for working with sellers? And so, yeah, make a listing presentation, work on the package, practice presenting it. So if you have not done these things, I think that should be on everyone's to-do list. Okay, learn the contract, practice your presentations, practice your scripting, right? You're in that learning phase of your career right now. And this is one of the great things that we do at Keller Williams is we look at what are those tools, models, and systems that other agents are using that have brought them success, and how can we implement that into our business? Okay, so now's the time to look at what do I want my systems to look like, and what do I need to get myself there? Okay, so I think we've provided you guys with some great ideas for tools, for models, and so I think now you just got to put it into action. Okay, so I think that's everybody's homework here today, and so I'm actually gonna give you guys some time to work on these things today. So if you have allotted yourself time till noon today, then I'm giving you 45 minutes to go back and work on one of these things, right? Is it, I need a pre-listing packet. I need to make sure I have my listing questions ready to go. Is it, I need my listing presentation? Is it, holy cow, I need to learn this contract? Okay, So I want each of you to empower yourself by choosing one or two of those things and get them done today. Any last thing that you'd like to add, anybody?
Is there a guideline? What all should be there in the pre-listing package?
So the pre-listing packet, there is one in, I think I've got one. I think I got one on my screen right now, right? So there is a pre-listing packet in the Ignite tools. I believe it's in the toolkit. Roger, do you know? I think it's in the toolkit, actually.
I think it is, yeah.
Okay.
Let me got one. If you guys, I'm sharing my screen. Hopefully you can see it. So this is the pre-listing packet. They call it the guide to selling your home. This is a Word doc. This is completely customizable. I have not done much customization. I've added my name here. But be familiar with what is in this. What do you help them do, right? What is your role in, and you can edit this. Do you want to add things to this? Do you want to remove things from this, right? This is your opportunity to do that. This lets them know, this is what you're paying me to do. This is what I'm going to do in helping you get your home sold. It's getting ready to list, right? You're starting that conversation right from the get-go of what are the things that you can do and what are the things that affect the price of your property. And so, this is the key thing, right? Is it the market? Is it the competition? Is it the condition of your home? Is it the location of your home? Help them understand, how do we come up with pricing properties? These are the factors that determine it. I love this at the bottom. This is the conversation, right? Excuse me. What are the things they are in control of? Certain things they're not in control of. They're not in control of what's going on in the market. They're not really in control of their location. The location is what the location is. The things that they can directly control that's going to impact the value and how quickly their home gets sold is the price and the condition, right? But help them understand that the rest of these things are really what determine the market value of your home. And so understand, what is the competition? What is the timing like in today's market? So you can counsel them on. Talk to them about pricing. What happens if you overprice your home? Getting ready to sell talks about condition of the home. Sorry. And then at the end, I love having some great questions for them. How do they want to be communicated with? Do you think that's important to somebody? Understand what's important to them. That's what, and if they haven't done this, if they haven't answered these questions, I'm sitting down and asking them these questions at the listing appointment. So if I don't know what is their preferred method of communication, I'm going to directly ask them that. Are you a texter? Would you prefer phone calls? Are you an emailer, right? Everyone has their own specific communication style of how they want to be communicated to. Find out what's important to that person and what works best for them. Can you take phone calls during the day? There are people who work in a profession. If you're a school teacher, you can probably not take phone calls during the day, right? Find out from them right at the get-go, what is the best communication method for you? And find out from each person, right? If there's two people you're dealing with, a couple, one of them may prefer email, the other one may prefer a text. One of them may be able to take phone calls during the day, one may not, right? So I do this for each person that I'm sitting down with. And then you're going to have a page about me, or providing information about you or about your company. If you're a newer agent, I like, people work with who they like. I like to give them a little bit of information about me, where I'm from, who I am. And then you can add information about who's the company that you're dealing with. So if you don't have a lot of information on yourself, add a page here about Keller Williams Realty, about the company. Why would they want to work with you? And that's what we recommend is in that pre-listing packet. Okay. All right. Any last questions? Well, you got us here. Congratulations to all of you guys for being here today. Kudos to you for wanting to improve your business and taking the time to learn the tools to do that. This alone is going to set you apart from other agents who are not doing this and not taking the time to prepare for this. And that's what's really going to bring you success. All right. Any last ahas, Roger? Anything that I missed that you feel like we really need to hit on today?
I think she's freezing up over there.
Uh-oh. All right, Roger, I'm going to give you one little last tip that I have learned from experience. Thank you notes and little notes can go a long way. I am telling you, every time I am going on a listing presentation, I pretty much have a pre-written hand note. It was great to meet you today. Thank you for showing me your home. I'm looking forward to working with you. If I am doing a two-step presentation, especially, I am dropping that in the mail the minute I leave their house, right? I pretty much have it pre-written. If it's somebody I want to work with, I will tell you, it will get you listings. It will get you listings. I had this one client, I'm just going to share this story. They have bought and sold a few homes. I was meeting with them for a listing presentation. They were also going to be buying a home. Before I walked in the door, I think they thought they were going to be talking to a few agents. Okay. I met with them initially, went back for my second consultation to talk about price, get them to sign the listing agreement. She was so blown away that I sent them a thank you note for meeting with me. She said, once I saw that note, I said, we're not even talking to any other agents. Nobody else has ever sent me a thank you note for meeting with me. And I said, this is the agent I want to work with. And I sold their house and they bought another one. And I made a really nice commission off those people, met and you know, developed friends that I'll probably be friends with for a long time. So don't hesitate to miss out on those little ways you can stand out. And just personally, I think that thank you note can go a long way. That's my last point I want to share.
That was great. Thank you very much. That was an excellent tip. I'm very happy to hear that. I'm definitely gonna do it.
It's easy.
To win
easy.
To win that listing, yeah.
Yep. So don't hesitate to think about those little things that are going to make you stand out from the crowd. So thank you notes are an easy way to do it. And so
it costs you nothing, really.
Stamp, and it doesn't have to be a Keller Williams note like what I do. Just when I go into the Christmas tree shop or any of those other stores, I will just pick up little thank you cards, little just blank cards that I can use for my business. So don't underestimate how some of those small things can go a long way.
Yeah, more personal, not the company note, like more personal. That's even better, yeah.
Do we mail it or do we put in their post box?
You could do either. I mean, legally, you're not supposed to open somebody's mailbox and put something in. So I usually do mail it, but sometimes I will just drop it off or leave it for them, depending on the timing and the situation.
Okay.
Yep. All right. Thank you all. Have a wonderful day. Hope to see you back here for future Ignite sessions. So my name is Chris Triglioni. I am with Keller Williams Greater Portland, ktriglioni@kw.com. If anybody has any questions, look me up in the white pages. Happy to help, happy to always, guide new agents on what you need to really launch into this career with success. And so thanks for having me here today, and go out and make it a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Thanks, Roger.
Bye.
Thanks, Chris.